Hello and welcome to the Royal Automobile Club for a special podcast, slightly shorter, because we are here at the Segrave room on Pall Mall, which is a convenient room for today's guest because we have Sam Sunderland, who's the 2017 Dakar winner, and today is being awarded the Segrave Trophy. And also joining me is Matt Oxley, and this is the first, I believe, for the Segrave Trophy because you have a coat, you have a jacket. Just for you.
Yeah, that's right. Super happy to be here and grateful for the club and some recognition back in the homeland, you know, and yeah, just got measured up for a jacket, so it's all exciting for me. But yeah, really cool opportunity for me to be here.
So did you know much about the Segrave Trophy?
To be honest, before not, and then of course I did a bit of research and was blown away by some of the past winners, you know, Lewis Hamilton, yes, wow, the list is endless, but and also how long it's been on for, you know, like I don't remember, it was the first time it was awarded maybe 1930 something.
Yeah, 1930, and that was because it's for air, speed and land, basically anything crazy, really. I think that's basically what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, what a trophy.
I think the first guy that won it, he basically flew from Ireland to Newfoundland in 30 hours. So that was the first east to west crossing of the Atlantic by plane, I think. So, and I would say the Dakar is probably the kind of modern equivalent of that kind of going into the unknown thing, really, isn't it? Because otherwise motorsport is fairly, we're going around racetracks, you know, it's kind of, whereas Dakar seems to me the kind of the last sort of bastion of complete madness.
Yeah, it's still very much Iron Age, if you like. You know, we still use paper road books for our navigation, and you'd think it would be digital, you know, with like a TomTom or a Garmin sat on your screen pointing an arrow, but it's unfortunately not like that. We have to read your average rally notes, but we scroll through them with a toggle switch, you know, but it's it's certainly not technology as far as navigation's concerned, and it's you're set off in the morning, 3 a.m, and you're on your own all day, and hopefully you arrive back that night to see your team, you know. But yeah, it's I think that's what's such a big attraction to it, you know. It's still a bit wild and a bit uncontrolled in some ways, and you race for yourself across the desert for hours and hours in crazy terrains, from 5,000 meters in Bolivia to 45 degrees heat in Argentina desert, and I think that kind of wild side of it is still a big attraction for the viewers and for the racers, you know.
I think the award celebrates what they technically call it, the spirit of adventure. So I think what you are definitely harking back to the Campbells, the John Cobbs, rather than the Lewis Hamiltons, who are like Matt's. It's a little bit tamer compared to what you do.
I don't know about that if you look at the speeds, but certainly the adventure side, you know. Quite often we don't get to see some of the crazy sights. You know, we pass by active volcanoes or the Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia, the biggest salt flat in the world. You can see it from space like a big white mirror, and while you're on the bike, you're literally looking at your road book and the 100 meters in front of you, and only on the liaison sections, which is after the race or before the race, you know, road sections or link sections where we don't race. Sometimes you like have a look around and you're like, wow, this is crazy. Yeah. So
how long are the actual? You say you basically start at dawn and finish at dusk, kind of thing, pretty much. How long are you actually racing for during that time? How many hours during a day are you actually racing, as opposed to liaisons or whatever?
So normally, I mean, as far as distance-wise, the longest stage we did in 2017 was 1,250 kilometers in one stage. So if you imagine if you were averaging 100, which we don't because you're going through dunes and technical terrain, it would be around 12, 13 hours. Wow. So, I mean, that was the longest day, including link sections. But as far as a special stage, if you like, actual race, it can be set. The longest stages are 7 hours, 8 hours.
How do you keep your concentration? Because, I mean, what you're sort of averaging 100 Ks, is that what you said?
It depends. I mean, I think one of the fastest stages we had averaged around 140 something, but can be less.
So how do you keep your concentration for 6 hours when you don't really know the road? You're looking at your notes all the time when you know.
That's the thing, you know. It's super heavy to stay focused during that amount of time. It's not only that side. If you sat out in 45 degrees heat for 7 hours doing nothing, you'd feel a bit rough by the end of the day. And you know, we race pushing ourselves to the maximum every day. I lost 7 kilos in 2017 Dakar, and I'm not a big guy, it's heavy. The concentration side is really difficult. You have to keep focus, and you take whatever you can. I don't know, Red Bull or energy bars or whatever you can to try and keep that energy there, because you start fatiguing off as the day goes down. It's not that we can stop and have a picnic. We have normally 1 or 2 refuels throughout the day, which are a mandatory 15-minute stop. But during that time, you're just trying to cram in food, and we've got to fill up the bike's fuel. Sometimes we have to change the road book. If it's a big road book, it doesn't fit in the road book holder altogether. So that's definitely a hard part of it. You feel yourself during the longer stages towards the end of them really like, come on, focus. It's not easy, sure.
So in 2017, you're in the last stages. Are you aware that you're winning? What happens then? How do you?
It's a really bizarre feeling, the only psychological side of sport is huge. I think for me is maybe 50-50 to physical or talent. It's crazy, the psychological side. And while you're losing, all you think about is winning. And as soon as you're winning, you only think about is how not to lose it. You feel like you've got a baby. And in 2017 Dakar, I took the lead in stage 5, and I had 8 stages where I had to try and control the lead, and it's much more mentally fatiguing to try and manage a stage rather than just go in and I'm all in. You kind of all running off adrenaline. When you're trying to control the stage, okay, where's this guy? Don't push too much. Control the bike. Don't make a navigation mistake. Don't ride in the dust. Pay attention to this. And it was heavy, really heavy. In the nighttime you can speak to the team and they can reassure you, no, you're doing good, just keep on what you're doing, everything's well. The problem is you're on the bike for 11, 12 hours alone, and your brain just goes
no radio.
It's not easy.
How much research do you do on the notes? So
everybody gets the same road book. When we arrive to the bivouac, 4 or 5 p.m. And so from 4 or 5 p.m. We start to paint our road books. We colour them in, with our different colour system. Yeah. I use pink for dangers, green for direction change, orange for waypoints. Everybody has a different colour system, but it can take 3 or 4 hours of marking. It's a big scroll of road book.
Toilet paper, roll of
toilet
paper.
Exactly. And then once we finish painting that, we have to prepare all the rest of the things for the next day, the hydration, the food, the jacket, blah, blah, blah. And normally we have a briefing with a map man. Every top team has a map man, and he kind of plots out the route on Google Earth and kind of shows us a bit of terrain. But the longest stage can be 600-700 kilometers. It's like going from here to Scotland. You off-road.
Yeah.
So you remember about this much. Sometimes when you're in the stage, you're like, that was the mountain. Oh, no, maybe it was that. It's so vast. Yeah. It's so vast. The Argentinian desert, you cannot imagine. You feel like a needle in a haystack. It's crazy, the terrains.
And so easy to make a mistake, because, like you say, especially when you're leading and you're protecting rather than attacking.
Yeah. Really difficult.
You're on the dirt, you don't really know where you're going, you're doing 140 Ks, sort of 90 miles an hour on a dirt road. How much time do you spend with other riders? Obviously if you're behind somebody and he's kicking up dust, that's not good, is it? It's
really difficult. We set off 3 minutes in intervals, so the first guy sets off 3 minutes after as the second guy. So you have a bit of a gap, but if there's a difficult area and people get lost, quite often you end up bunching together, because the first guy gets lost, he comes back, finds the right way, and as the second guy arrives, he's like, oh, well, he's obviously lost, I'm not going to go where he's gone. And kind of when you group up, can be really dangerous in the dust. Those are the times where it's so easy, like as a red-blooded man, you want to, come on, I'm racing, but imagine you've got 14 days, 12 hours a day on the bike, and you can rush in the dust for 30 seconds and miss a rock, miss a hole, miss a corner. Those are the times where you have to try and relax. Now is not the time. Just take it easy, find the way. But it's so easy to sit here and talk to you guys about it, but when you're racing, you know, to try and win, you're literally, we push to the maximum all day as hard as we can. To kind of switch off and on from that adrenaline is really one of the hardest parts to control, I think.
Then you mentioned about holes, and this year,
yeah,
had just a unfortunate hole that you just hit.
Yeah, so really disappointing. You know, this year I started off well. I won stage 1 and then I won stage 3. Feeling really good, calm, not with pressure or stress. I was feeling really well coming into the Dakar, and we was day 4. It was a mass start day, so everybody set off together like a motocross start style, which always adds to a bit of the chaos. But it was all going okay. We was in June, so there wasn't a lot of dust. The sand doesn't create dust, you know, it just goes up and down, so that wasn't an issue. And it was quite late into the stage. And I was in the front group, and there was a bit of a confusing area, and for me there was a waypoint on top of these dunes that we needed to climb, and 6 or 7 other riders kept trying to climb also these dunes. I was like, they've put this waypoint in the top of them dunes, you know, that's because when we're in open desert, you know, there's not a 4x4 track to follow. We have to follow a compass heading, so come from 0 to 300, you know, and for me the correct cap heading was up into the big dunes, and they were super soft, and we were trying to climb them, and I was like, I can't believe they've put the waypoint up here. And I come around in the bottom on a bit of a flat area, and I had a bit of a run, like to carry some speed to climb. And I can only explain it as like, you've been skiing before and you get like snow blind. Like sometimes you're coming down and you're like, whoa, what was that? You know, you don't see because it's all white. Well, it's the same in the dunes when the sun's high. It's all kind of yellowy white color. And I just missed a pocket, like a little, it was quite deep with square edges. And I wasn't prepared for it at all. And I was looking up the dune like with some speed to climb. And the bike just had a big compression, and I wasn't strong, you know, I didn't expect it. And I ended up squashing 2 of the discs in my lower back. And I felt the pain directly, and I was like, I didn't even crash. I didn't fall off. It was just a big, huge compression, and, you know, my speed carried me on. And anyway, I tried to continue, and after getting the waypoint, and the pain was coming more and more, and I was like, okay, no worries, I'll be okay, I'll arrive to the end, I'll see the guys, can make some checks after the stage. And I started losing the feeling in my legs. It started with my toes and my feet and my ankles, and then my knees, and then I couldn't feel nothing, you know, and I was like, wow, it's really strange. And I thought like pins and needles at first, and coming worse. And it comes to the point I couldn't change gear or brake with my feet, and I couldn't put my legs out in the corner, and I was like, wow, I'm gonna have to stop. Like, I'll just stop and I'll check, like what's the problem? I had pain in my back, but I was thinking maybe, you know, I've pinched a nerve, I'm sure it'll be okay. But then when I stopped, I really realized how bad it was, because while you're on the bike, you know, you're fighting and you've got an adrenaline rush, and when I stopped, I was like, wow, I can't move my legs. I couldn't even pull my leg off the bike, and well, it was really scary feeling. You know, I've got some paralyzed friends, unfortunately, and yeah, it was all kinds of things started rushing through my head, and I was really in pain, but also really scared, really afraid. And luckily, unfortunately, I was out of the race. I couldn't continue. I couldn't move my legs, and Anyway, helicopter arrived after some time and off to the hospital, and luckily after a few hours it come back after I was laid flat and some medication for anti-inflammatory, and I don't know what they give me, but anyway, it come back luckily, and I'm thankful for that, because I was really, for a moment, was really scary. But yeah, it sucks. I had a 6-minute lead at the time, and the race was going perfect as I had planned. But that's the nature of racing. It
shows how narrow that line is, isn't it? Just, you didn't, like you say, you didn't even crash. You just
you know. Exactly.
And you have a sort of safety button now where you basically, it triggers a transponder, or, well, obviously you've got a transponder there all the time, is it?
So we've got
basically a sort of SOS kind of thing.
Yeah, so we're tracked all the time. I think it's from Paris, actually, that rather than in the desert. We've got an IRI track. So if the bike has a big impact, it directly sends a safety signal, or you have a red button to push, which is like an emergency button. But luckily, if you're in the front of the race, normally the media helicopters are close anyway, so they know what's going on, you know. And luckily, within 5 minutes there was a helicopter there, and it was more or less okay.
Why don't you have digital mapping or whatever? Why do you still have the scroll? Is that just a kind of they want to keep it?
I don't think it's like to keep tradition or something. I think genuinely it's just the best system, because we often have to add modifications in the last minute, you know, where we have to write on pen on the rally notes. I mean, even in WRC, I'm sure they still use, I know they still use paper notes, and you'd think it would get destroyed, you know. You're in these crazy conditions with snow or with rain or with the heat and dust, but it's in a little roadbook holder and does its job. I think it's and the fact that also everyone has their own marking system, that they want things to stand out, like a danger, like a change of direction or a waypoint. And I don't know, just never. It's been talked about before, a digital one, but it's never happened.
Sure.
I guess it's kind of a nice little balance, isn't it, that Dakar has, where you've got that kind of old technology that just works.
Yeah.
And then you've got technology that makes you all a lot safer and a lot, because back in the day you wouldn't have had a button, you'd have been waiting.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that danger now effectively gone, where you are your own?
Yeah, I think it's a lot safer now, especially for the organisers logistically. You know, when it was in Africa, they were in the middle of Mauritania, and these. I think it was a different race then. It was definitely crazy, and you know, it's how it started. People getting lost in the desert, you know, and it's a completely different race now. It's much faster. A lot of young guys coming in, trying to, crazy, going fast. But also logistically, everything advances, you know, and now it's more like 14 one-day races, right, as opposed to a long set off and you arrive. I think a lot of the new guys coming into it, because we have a lot of ex-world champions from enduro or motocross coming into it, and the biggest surprise for them is how fast it is, because it's still seen as this adventure race across the desert, but I promise you it's really, really fast. Everybody's on the limit all day, you know. It's really, really, really fast.
So are you one of the young guys still, or are you now one of the old?
Yeah, I'm getting there. 29 the other day, dude, 15th of April. But yeah, I'm still luckily one of the younger guys. I started early, you know. My first rally was 2011 and I was 21. Which is early in rally, in cross-country rally. So yeah, I'm still. There's a few guys younger than me, but most of the top guys are still older than me. So,
what did the sort of adventure aspect, rather than going into enduro or motocross or whatever? Did the adventure aspect, was that one of the attractions to you of doing something really, rather than just whizzing around in circles all day? Actually,
For me, my passion is motocross. I grew up racing motocross, and I love it now. I don't know if you follow my Instagram. I love still ride a lot of motocross. I love going in the desert and hitting big gaps in the dunes, and I still love motocross. It's like my big passion. And on the other side, when I moved to Dubai in 2009, is when I discovered like free riding in the open desert and the adventure kind of style of things, and the freedom. I think everybody starts off the passion of riding a motorbike is freedom. You know, you start when you get your first bicycle. When you're a kid, you're riding up the road like, yeah, I can go where I want, you know. And I think it's the same feeling that crosses over when you're an adult. And I still, it's crazy. Every race we go to is a big adventure, and you know, there's no way you can race your bike for 14 days, for 12 hours a day in these terrains and not have something crazy happen. There's no way you can do it. And I think that unknown and that adventure kind of thing that's there, I think is super exciting, yeah.
How'd you kind of go from Southampton to winning the Dakar? Circuit racing, there's an obvious path that you follow, but you think you've gone from growing up in Southampton to then winning the Dakar.
Yeah, I think moving to the Middle East, I moved to Dubai in 2009, had a big impact on that. Like I said, I was still racing motocross at the time, which is still like a huge passion of mine. And then when I moved to Dubai, it was like everyone was like, "Oh, we're going on a desert ride." I'm like, "What's a desert ride?" You know, I just pictured guys with like big camel packs and bum bags, and I was like, I thought it was a bit lame at the time, you know. And when I went out there, I was like, "Wow, this is crazy! You can go where you want. Like you can literally go where you want. There's no guidelines. There's no fences. Go where you want." You're like, "What? I'm free," you know. And that feeling is still something I love. When you arrive to the desert, you've got your bike, and there's just 1,000 dunes, and go ride where you want. It's a crazy good feeling, and I still have that now.
In the Dakar, how much of it is like tracks, and how much of it is kind of full, just in the middle of nowhere off road?
So this last Dakar 2018 was much, so we call it off-piste. So piste or off-piste, because rally is French. And off-piste is open desert. Off-track is completely dunes. You know, there's not a 4x4 track or any trusses in the ground. It's clean desert. And this Dakar 2018 was a lot more off-piste. Obviously starting in Peru, is a lot of dunes in Peru, and it was a lot of off-piste navigation, racing, and I like that. I like that style of you can use your, so when you're on piste, you brake as late as you can, you get the apex of the turn the same as you would. I mean, it's all new to us. 100% of the time it's new terrain, but you have to read it as you go and carry as much speed as you can. I love that side, but my favorite part is riding in open desert, you know, to read the terrain, read the desert. Okay, here looks like a cleaner line, maybe there's a pocket on this side, and you can play a lot more and manage where you want to go more. There's a lot more freedom than on a piste, you know.
So have you been on track much? Have you ever
so I did a bit of supermoto stuff, a little bit, and then I actually went on track. Last year was my first time, and it was really, really cool. I was scared, really. I was scared because of, you know what scared me most was the other riders, because obviously I was in the amateur group at first, like off you go, you know. Never done it before, and the gearbox was reversed. So the first corner I went, boo, whoa, you know, with the gearbox back to front. Yeah. That was a bit of an experience. I had a few down the main straight as well. Like I was, you know, banged it the wrong way, and oh no, it was bizarre. The first session I spent every corner going the wrong way, and then no, it's this way, and like it was a big block in my head. Yeah, and then after that it was coming better and better, and I actually got my knee down. I remember the first time I did that, I did it and then sat the bike up halfway through the turn because I was so afraid. But it was a really cool experience. But I think it is completely different from what I do, or even from motocross on a track, because I think it's a lot more about accuracy. You cannot vary from the race line. You cannot vary too much from the braking point. You know, is hitting the same lines lap after lap after lap. Whereas in motocross, or certainly in desert racing, you can change your line. You can move the bike. You can come. You know, if there is a right corner coming up on a circuit, there's no way you'd be on the right side of the track. You'd be on the left for the apex. But in motocross, if that line's rough, you can come. You know, you can play a lot more. But yeah, I enjoy it for other reasons. You know, I have a passion for everything racing, or with an engine or with wheels. You know, I always have since a kid. And I was saying before, I did a car race the other day with PH Sport in a Peugeot 308, and that was my first car race, and it was the same. It was wild, and I just, you know, I really enjoyed it and just wanted to go as fast as I could. And you know, I got in a bit of trouble with some other guys, I think, touching too much. But yeah, it was super fun, really, really cool.
You'd think, do KTM kind of offer you guys on they should give you a go on their MotoGP bike, shouldn't they?
Yeah, I have to win a few more Dakars before I put that request in, maybe. But yeah, I think it's still in the early part for them as well. You know, the team going into MotoGP was a huge commitment, and of course is not easy. You know, these teams have been there at the top of the pinnacle of MotoGP for so long, and to try and compete with them, I think is heavy. But I think they're getting closer, and hopefully, you know, the more track time and data they get.
It's an amazing little company, really, isn't it? Because I think Pit Beera, the boss, told us that they've got like 72 factory riders, because you know they're sort of motocross, enduro, supercross, Dakar, Moto 3, Moto 2, MotoGP. I mean, there's no other motorbike company like that, really, is there?
Yeah, they're really passionate about racing, and I think it works. Their whole image of the bikes and everything is about performance and about race, you know. And I think they push on the race side, and then the developments we make with the bikes ultimately end up with the customer, you know, like our Dakar bike, our factory Dakar bike, and the bike that the customer can buy. There's not so much difference, really. There's a few details to the engine and a few details to the suspension, but 99.9% is the same bike, and I think that's something that's cool. And yeah, it's the same as any motorsport. Eventually, things pass down to the consumer, but in off-road sport, it's much faster, you know. But I think it's cool. Yeah, it's a company that have a lot of passion for racing, and certainly with Red Bull on board with all of their motorsports projects, it helps. But yeah, I'm super grateful to be part of such a team that want to win, you know.
So what's next for you? I guess you look at kind of the four-wheels version of the Dakar, and you've got Carlos Sainz, who's in his 50s. Careers on the two wheels must be a little bit shorter because it's more physical and there's a lot more. So where would you go?
Bad finger at the minute. Yeah, it's certainly true. Like Cyril Dupre or Peter Hansel, these guys went from bikes to cars. But I think it was a bit of a different era, you know. Certainly Peter Hansel and Cyril Dupre. Now, back then there was maybe 2 or 3 guys that were on a professional level that they had competition with, you know. And for many years, for 11 years, I think it was between Cyril Dupre and Mark Comer. They won. Only 2 guys won for 11 years. Now, it's in the last 3 years, it's been 3 different winners. There's so many guys that are on a professional level that work to win the Dakar every day of their life. For me now, there's 10, 11 guys that can win. But that's the ultimate goal, to go from 2-wheel to 4-wheel, you know. But it's not easy, you know. The car teams, I think the car teams, a lot of them would prefer to take a guy from WRC that they know that can drive, and then to get him to learn to read the terrain, rather than a bike guy to learn to drive a car. I think it's a closer link. But no, I think it's why we try and get into cars now. Like I did a car race last week. My friend Toby Price does a lot of car racing, some buggy stuff in America, to try and make that step early to get a bit of experience. But yeah, it's the goal, of course, to one day race a car.
On the Dakar as well. So how long? Because that's maybe you're maybe halfway through your career if you look at Carlos Sainz.
Yeah. Now I'm 20. I was 29 a few days ago, and I'm still young. I was lucky to get into rally early and to win the Dakar at 27 years old. It was I think I was more or less close to the youngest guy. Peter Hansel, I think, was also 27 when he won. So yeah, I've still got maybe 6, 7, 8 years. See how the body goes.
You must have to train incredibly hard, because I mean, just for those. But I suppose in a fairly particular way, because you need to be strong, but not kind of. You need stamina as much as strength,
exactly.
don't you?
Yeah, exactly. It's professional. It's turned into a professional sport. You know, I spend every day training fitness. A lot of time on the bicycle, a lot of time running or swimming. But I can't do many weights. If I do weights, I have problems with the arm pump, which is the reason had some surgeries for that before. So it's a specific training. It's not that I go and ride 10,000 kilometers, which the Dakar is. You know, it's like if a marathon runner, they don't really run marathons every day of the week because you physically cannot. So you have to manage it well. We're lucky; we've got a good team around us. Red Bull have a fitness facility in Austria where they guide us pretty well with the fitness side of things, and I'm living my dream, but it's a full-time job. I wake up every day and I have a plan to train, to ride, to do this or do that, and yeah, it's really cool.
Unfortunately, it looks like we have completely run out of time. You've got a very busy day of interviews and jacket, trying on again.
Yeah, I'm super
lunch,
pumped. I've got a new jacket somewhere. It's cool. I don't have many of them, so.
And you've got this giant trophy as well. And your name added to it. I'm sure Matt, you'll agree it's a good choice by the committee to.
Yeah, fantastic. I think you perfectly sum up the spirit of adventure. You know, there's just no more adventurous thing to do in motorsport than what you did. So I think, and it's great to have another motorcycle winner. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much. It's super cool. That's a big guy, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think you're allowed to take it home.
Yeah, I'm not taking that one in the suitcase going back home.
So congratulations from us all.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for sparing half an hour with us today.
No
Thanks,
worries.
Matt. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
On your birthday. Thanks. Well done for eating all the caterpillar cake. And we'll be back very shortly. I think with Jackie X later this week, and then Derek Bell maybe 2 weeks later. So we've got a busy month of podcasts. So we'll see you then. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.